Hello, my name is Vanessa and welcome to our virtual yoga class. We'll begin class by laying on our backs. So take a moment to find your way there, noticing that as you transition to lay down is when your practice begins. You're starting to check in with the body. You're releasing your to-do list for the day. You're adjusting yourself as you lay down, finding what is comfortable. And you're inviting an intentional breath. So let's inhale here, let's exhale, sigh it out. Noticing that as we exhale and sigh out, we're releasing tension, not just physically, but mentally and emotionally as well. We're building that bridge. This is a holistic yoga practice. So as we're working through the poses, working on our strength, flexibility, and balance, our bodies become these vehicles supporting us in a holistic practice, coming into deeper balance. Our breath is our focusing tool here. Notice the quality of your breath without any judgment. Just notice. Make whatever adjustments you need to feel more comfortable in this beginning portion of class. So your back is on the floor. Ideally, your legs are long. Backs of the hands are on the floor, framing your hips like Shavasana. Do release tension around the neck, shoulders, down the spine, down the length of your legs. Just a quick body scan there, checking in. And then to support yourself in your concentration, see if you can invite 3 breath cycles, lengthening the inhale and exhale a little longer than you're accustomed to. Good inhale. Exhale. Sigh it out. On the next breath cycle, invite a full body stretch, lifting your arms up overhead, interlacing your fingers. Take a few moments here. You can focus anywhere throughout your hands, down the length of your arms, shoulders, around the abdomen, especially if you're lifting your abdomen up towards the ceiling, therefore releasing some tension in the lower back and around the tailbone. You can focus there. You can also point your toes, flex your feet. These are areas that tend to not get a lot of attention. Now we're gently activating the body here. Still welcoming a restorative breath. Releasing our to-do list for the rest of the day. Checking in with our bodies. And as a reminder, this is a skill to check in with the body, to assess, to be present. You're cultivating that skill right now and for the rest of class. A few more breaths, welcome your breath, shift at any time. And then you can start to release your full body stretch. Let's bend our right knee and then lengthen our leg up towards the ceiling. We're interlacing our fingers behind our thigh. Lengthen your leg here. You can always have a little bend to your knee to support you. You're focusing on your glute, your hamstring here. Hold. And then after another breath, you can bring your thigh closer towards your belly, your chest. You can remain here. You can drop your leg towards the left and the right, either keeping a sway or holding a pose or position. If that is where you feel more activated, you want to place some more attention to. So give yourself that option of just holding the pose, holding the position, or shifting your leg back and forth in a sway. That is fine as well. This is about opening up our lower body. We tend to be very tight around hips and glutes and hamstrings. So we're preparing ourselves for the rest of the class. Opening up here. You're breathing into your boundary, seeing where that tension is, seeing where can you fold just a little bit more. Let a deep breath. You're going to rotate your ankle clockwise, counterclockwise. Pay attention to your toes, your heels. And now start to bend that right knee. Grip that knee with your hands, round your spine, forehead towards your knee, chin towards your chest. Hold. And now drop your head back. Lengthen your leg, take a breath, inhale. Exhale. Bend your left knee, lengthen your leg up towards the ceiling. Interlace your fingers right behind your thighs. Rotate your ankle clockwise, counterclockwise. Flex your feet here. Again, lengthen your leg. You're focusing now on your hamstrings. You can bring your leg closer towards your belly, your chest. That can happen just by bending your elbows a little bit more. You can hold here or sway your leg towards the left or towards the right. So this is your practice here. You're noticing what needs to open up, what's going to support you for the rest of the day. You are focusing on your lower body here. Inhale. Exhale. You start to bend that left knee. Grip that knee with your hands, round your spine, forehead towards your knee, chin towards chest. Hold. And then drop your head back from here. Bend both knees, lengthen both legs here. You've already woken up around the hamstrings. You're flexing your feet, meaning you're pointing your toes downwards towards you, lengthening your legs. You can always have a little bend to your knees. Noticing that stretch naturally activate from your hamstrings all the way down to your heels. You're going to ground both palms onto the floor, activate your core, glutes, and quads. As you slowly release your legs, find a point to hover and hold. Your feet can be floating 1 foot, 2 feet off the floor. You're holding here and release. Butterfly pose, both soles of the feet touch. Remain here. A few cycles of breath before we move into a more active portion of class. your butterfly pose. Hands can shift into any position. You have access to your full diaphragm breathing here, meaning that your belly can fully expand in this pose. You can't do that, for example, in a forward fold or in a twist. It becomes more difficult. So this pose is an opportunity to tap into that opening around the belly, deep belly breath, while you're simultaneously softening the tailbone towards the floor, softening your hips, imagining your knees fall further towards the floor. It takes practice to physically release the body. Your body is supported by the ground. Surprisingly, we can sometimes hold so much tension, and not just physical tension, but can be mental tension manifested in our physical bodies. But that mental tension can help, it will freeze our bodies up. So as you're laying here, you're cultivating that ability to soften neck, shoulders, down to the hips. This is something to practice. Take a deep, full breath, the biggest breath that you can comfortably invite. This is the full breath you can go back to later on in your day, at any time during the week. When you need to take a moment of pause to practice that presence, it's just a matter of inviting an intentional breath. And I have to remind myself about this all the time. We're not naturally just good at that. Another intentional breath here, inhaling and exhaling, scanning the body, softening the body. We're inviting 3 more breaths. And after those 3 breath cycles, we'll start to release our butterfly pose. Let's go ahead and shift into a seated position. We'll take a moment to shift into a cross-legged position. Notice which leg is most forward, and then switch it out just for an effort of balance here. And then activate the core. So we're activating the core, not in a way that we would activate it for a plank pose, for example, but part of our practice and part of our holistic yoga practice is noticing those subtleties in the body. So right now you're noticing the subtlety of that activated core to support you in an intentional posture. That intentional posture means that your spine is long, chin is neutral, and then shoulders are drawn down. They're not up towards your ears. They're soft and relaxed. For active, supporting an open chest. Eyes closed, inhale here, exhale, side out. Noticing that physical, mental, emotional release by exhaling, sighing out. And then open your eyes. Start to lift your arms up overhead, palms up towards the ceiling, stretch towards the left and hold. Inhale. Exhale, we're inviting that upper body stretch here. And then back to center, opposite side, inhale. Exhale, release, take your hands right behind your head. Twist towards the left and towards the right. Exhale. As you twist towards the left and to the right, make sure you're leading with your chest, your heart. Your sit bones are grounded onto the floor. And then release your hands. Now interlace your fingers. Now as I'm interlacing my fingers, my palms can either touch or not. I'm purposely lengthening my elbows and simultaneously drawing my shoulder blades closer together, drawing my shoulders down. You can gently lift your gaze, your chin up towards the ceiling. Not too much where you're craning your head. You're just lifting that chin, your gaze. Deep belly breath and release. Inhale, let's lift our arms up overhead, palms up towards the ceiling. This time we're rounding our spine, tucking our chin towards our chest. You want to make sure you're tucking that chin in to get that full release around the back of the neck, upper back. And exhale, release. Bring both soles of the feet together. Lengthen the spine and fold. You can rest your elbows right onto your thighs, around the creases behind your knees. You're dropping your belly towards the floor. Notice where the flexibility is. Notice where the tension is. Breathe into that tension and see if you can pass through that boundary. But it can be subtle. Pass that boundary to a point that it's not painful. Five more breaths here. Inhale, exhale. Deep belly breath. Release the pose. We're going to ground our feet onto the floor, shift into a forward fold. You're watching your feet that they're parallel with each other, about hips width distance apart. Please be mindful of your neck and head are totally relaxed. Now let's sweep our arms up overhead. We're going to prepare our bodies mentally, physically, emotionally for 5 sun salutations. So first, let's take a moment here, hands in front of our heart center, left hand pressing against right hand pressing against left hand. This is a holistic yoga practice. So for the next 5 sun salutations, allow this to be an opportunity to immerse yourself in your body, to come into deeper integrity with each pose, which can be just as simple as practicing self-awareness in each of the poses. Making those subtle adjustments with your shoulders, noticing your core strength, grounding through your feet. I'll go ahead and cue, but you can always move at your own pace. Release your hands. I'm going to go a little slower on the first round to break down some of these poses. We're going to inhale, sweep our arms up overhead. So as I'm sweeping my arms up overhead, I'm extending through the abdomen and lengthening my spine. I bend my knees, fold down, softening my neck and head so they're relaxed as you fold. Your hands are on your shins. You inhale halfway up. As I'm halfway up, my shoulders are rolled back. My back is flat. I exhale, release. Once again, neck is very soft. So I take my hands forward, preparing for a plank pose. Your hands will eventually line up beneath your shoulders. Your legs are long. Core is active. Notice that you're using a lot of glute strength here, quad strength. Any shaking in your plank pose is perfectly fine. You can press your heels towards the back of the room and then drop down towards the floor. Now I adjust my hands, making sure they're right by my chest. My elbows remain tucked towards my torso. I lift up into an upward facing dog, being careful and protecting that lower back. I engage my glutes. I draw my shoulders down. Tops of the feet are on the floor. And then I lift up into a downward facing dog. I inhale here, exhale. Now I take my gaze right between my hands, walk or jump up to my forward fold, hands to shins, inhale halfway up. Exhale, release, and then sweep my arms up overhead. Rounding through my heels, distributing weight to my toes. Noticing both hands come to press against each other. Inhale. Exhale. Second sun salutation. My spine extends. I exhale, fold. Softening my neck. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. So ideally, you're inhaling as you're stepping back into a plank pose. And exhaling as you release down towards the floor. Inhaling up into an upward facing dog. And then exhaling into a downward facing dog. So that's if you want each breath to match up with your body's movements. You do have the option of remaining in any of these poses for extra breaths. If you're exploring something in particular, take your gaze between your hands, quad or jump up to that forward fold. Inhale up, exhale, release. Sweep your arms up overhead, grounding through your feet, sweeping your arms up. Noticing left hand press against right hand press against left hand. It's a continuous practice of presence from one moment to the next. Third sun salutation, arms lift. Exhale, bend your knees, fold down. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back into your plank pose, making sure elbows are close to your torso as you release down towards the floor. Tops of the feet are on the floor as you inhale up into upward facing dog. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Pressing through your palms, bringing your chest closer towards your thighs. Invite a generous breath. And then fourth sun salutation. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up to that forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. And then sweep your arms up overhead. Move so intentionally at your own pace. Both palms come to meet in front of your heart center. You gather a breath 2 or 3 in your mountain pose. And then sweep your arms up, extending through the spine, reaching with your arms. You exhale, fold down. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. Step back, plank pose as you're inhaling. Exhale, release down towards the floor. Inhale up, upward facing dog. And then exhale, downward facing dog. Generous breath, breathe into the backs of your legs here. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up to that forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, neck is soft, and then ground through your heels as you lift up, preparing for your fifth sun salutation. Your arms glide up, palms touch. You're noticing your fingertips and palms touch. You're arriving to this present moment. By welcoming our breath, we welcome our experience. Fifth sun salutation, arms sweep up. Exhale, fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. Inhale, step back into a plank pose. Activate your core, release down towards the floor. Inhale, up into an upward facing dog. And then we meet at our downward facing dog. In our down dog, lift your left leg, bend your knees, stack your hips, and hold. spread your fingertips. Place weight on your palms. Bring your belly closer towards the thigh. Watch your neck, your head relax. And then release your foot back down towards the floor. And then opposite side, lift your right leg, bend your knees, stack your hips, ground through your palms. Hold. Deep belly breath. Release your foot back down towards the floor. Drop your knee so you shift into a tabletop. And then from your tabletop, step back into your child's pose. Either knees towards the edges of your mat or knees close together. About 5 breaths here. Inhale, exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Start to release your child's pose. Shift into a tabletop, meaning your hands will probably have to shift to make sure they're directly beneath your shoulders. You're going to inhale up into a cow pose. Exhale, round your spine into a cat pose. Just being mindful of your neck or down the length of the spine. Total of 3 rounds. Inhaling and exhaling into a cat pose. And then after those 3 rounds, press your palm onto the floor and lift your right arm up towards the ceiling and hold. Exhale, release. Opposite side, lift your left arm up towards the ceiling and hold. Inhale. Exhale, release your hand, lift up, downward facing dog. Take your gaze between your hands, walk or jump up to that forward fold. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release. This time, roll up slowly to standing. Arms dangle, head is relaxed. Spine lengthens, head comes up last. It's a good physical practice of letting go and of slowing down. And that's one of our practices in yoga. As we intentionally slow down our physical body, it somehow supports our mental body as well, slowing down those thought streams just by being purposeful in how we move, moving slowly. We're going to go ahead and practice some balance. First, our 2-legged balance or 2-footed balance. Feet are about hips width distance apart. We're going to lift our arms or hands up overhead. Palms up towards the ceiling. Lift your heels halfway or all the way up and hold. Now any shaking is fine. You're noticing that paradox of stillness and movement. Your gaze is steady. Release your heels down towards the floor. Release your hands. Pedal your feet back and forth. Now tree pose. Our left foot is going to rest right against our ankle. Just take a moment here to notice your core activated here, making any adjustments here with your spine. And now lift your foot a little higher towards your shin or all the way up to your thighs. Now my glutes are engaged. I'm firmly grounded through that right foot. My hips are opening up here. For support in my balance, I can choose to take my hands in front of my heart center. Hands can frame my hips. I can lift my arms up overhead in different expressions. So find where your tree pose is right now. And then you'll notice that if you try a tree pose in the morning or midday or in the evening, they can be very different. And also the different side you're balancing on can also affect what your tree pose, what that experience is like, as well as your mental thought patterns. If your mind is a little bit more cluttered, it becomes a little bit more difficult to approach that tree pose. So just accept wherever you're at. Welcome your breath. Study the breath, the mind, the physical body. Working on balance here and flexibility. There's strength involved in here as well. There's always a relationship with all three, physical, or all three, meaning strength, flexibility, and balance. They're all weaving with each other. Keep your gaze steady. And then release the pose. Pedal your feet back and forth. Inhale. We're going to sweep our arms up overhead, two-legged balance. Palms up, lift your heels. You can experiment here, lifting your heels halfway or all the way up and hold. Steady gaze. Steady gaze, even breath, noticing the paradox of stillness and movement in this pose. Noticing paradox in our bodies requires a lot of self-reflection. It's that skill we're cultivating, arriving to this moment, observing what's present. Release your hands, release your heels. Let's pedal our feet back and forth on the mat just to make sure we're grounded. Or tree pose, now opposite side. Right ankle or right heel rests against your ankle. Lengthen your spine, activate your core, make any adjustments here as you prepare for the variation of tree pose that's working for you right now on this side, on this time of day. I do recommend keeping your gaze steady on one point across the floor or room. A steady gaze is a steady mind. Invite an even breath here. And then release your hands, release the pose, pedal your feet back and forth here. We're gonna lengthen our stance to a wide-legged forward fold, one round. So our toes face towards the front. You're gonna hinge from the hips, breathe into the backs of your legs, and please be mindful as you release your torso down towards the floor, check with your neck and head that they're totally relaxed. Hands can really reach anywhere. You can grab your toes with your fingers. You can cup your elbows with your hands. Different expressions here. Inhale. And exhale, release. Bring both feet closer together. I'm going to roll up slowly. It's an intentional practice here. I'm noticing that physical sensation of letting go, softening the torso as the legs are active. We're going to take 3 poses in an active mountain pose. That means your core is active, palms radiate out, your fingertips radiate outwards. If I tried to move you, it'd be difficult to do so because you're grounded in this pose. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale, sweep your arms up overhead. Palms up towards the ceiling. Just stretch here towards the left and towards the right. Release your hands. Now prepare for a tree pose. Shoot your arms forward. Bend your knees. You're lifting your tailbone. Glutes and quads are active. A pose of strength and stability here. And then bend your knees further. Full down forward fold. Soften your neck. Inhale, halfway up. Exhale, release, step back into your plank pose. Release down towards the floor. So knees on the floor, belly reaches the floor, remain here. So you have 2 options. You can shoot your fingertips back, or you can interlace your fingers. Draw your shoulder blades together. Your feet can float off the mat. Inhale up, or you can allow the tops of the feet to remain on the mat. 5 rounds, inhale up. Exhale, release. Use your breath to assist you in finding that lift. 3rd round. And 4th round, inhale up. Exhale, release. You bring your shoulder blades closer together. Engage your glutes. On that 5th round, remain there, an extra breath. Inhaling, exhaling. Another cycle of breath. If you want a more intense workout, go ahead and remain there another breath or 2. Otherwise, release your cheek onto the floor. Drop your hands. Soften your body. Let your body cool down. Notice that influx of energy in the body. Take that breath that supports you right now. Softening neck, down the spine to the hips. As a reminder, we also have to practice softening the body. This is a holistic yoga practice, so we're getting to know our bodies when it's active as well as when it's passive. Two more breaths here. And then one more round on your belly. You shoot your fingertips behind you. You have 2 options. Again, just shooting your fingertips behind you, bringing your shoulder blades closer together, or interlacing your fingers, either palms touching or not. Once again, shoulder blades drawn together. Tops of the feet remain on the floor or they float up. On an inhale, lift up. Notice that lower back strength here. Exhale, release. Protect that lower back though by moving slowly and intentionally. Move through 5 rounds. 2nd round, inhale up. Exhale, release. 3rd time, inhale up. Exhale, release. Remembering to engage those glutes or notice those glutes supporting you. 4th round, inhale up. On that next round, that 5th round, remain there an extra breath. 5th round, inhale up and hold. You're holding the pose, but you're not holding your breath. Inhale, exhale. It's okay to exhale into this pose. Move into a 2nd breath, maybe even 3rd. If you want a more intense workout, you can remain there as long as you need. Otherwise, release. Opposite cheek onto the floor. Roll your shoulders forward. Soften neck and down the spine. practice softening and letting go. Take a supportive breath. Now it's difficult to take some deep, long breaths when we're laying on our bellies. So just find that comfortable and supportive breath here. About 3 more breaths here. And then you'll start to release the pose. You can ground your palms onto the floor. We'll come to sit in a seated position. If you need to take an upward facing dog and downward facing dog, you can take a moment there. Otherwise, go ahead and transition to come into your seat. Once again, practicing that self-awareness, that body awareness, you lengthen your spine. And so we'll take a moment to prepare for some neck rolls. And I want to emphasize these neck rolls, especially with classes that are focused on students that have a lot of office experience throughout the day, kind of sitting in front of their computers, or actually that's a lot of people nowadays with our new, more virtual reality and sitting in front of our computers. But when we're in front of our computers or even our cars, we tend to roll our shoulders forward, crunch around the neck, collapse our spine. And we also start to store up tension around the neck and shoulder. So any sort of mental stresses can start accumulating around the neck and the shoulders. And I think some of the top pain points where people experience a lot of pain are usually their lower back, neck and shoulders, upper back. And it's incredible how these neck rolls what they can do to open up and release tension just by having a regular practice. So please count this as your yoga practice. If one evening you just spend some 10 minutes with these neck rolls, that counts as your yoga practice as long as you're inviting some intentional breaths. So we're going to drop our chin towards our chest and allow the natural heaviness of our head to just pull down. You're opening the neck, the tops of the shoulders, upper back. Remain here. And I'll lift your chin up towards the ceiling. Head comes back to neutral. Shift your chin towards that right shoulder and hold. Hold. Back to center. Hold. Release your chin towards your chest, and now continue with these neck rolls, rolling your head from one shoulder to the next. Roll your head forward and back. Roll your head roll your head clockwise or counterclockwise, noticing what areas feel tense. You can remain in that area, breathe into that tension. If you prefer to work on some meditation and bring your head to a point of stillness, go ahead and do so, eyes opened or closed. If your eyes are open, concentrate on one point. As a reminder, a steady gaze, steady mind. About 3 more breaths here. And after those 3 breaths, start to bring your head back to a neutral position, hands resting on knees, shoulders up towards your ears, draw them down. And now bend your knees. We're gonna do a little core workout before we lay down. Know that you can take your hands behind your knees or behind your thighs for extra support, and then lift your legs. Lift your chin up towards the ceiling, palms up towards the ceiling for a more intense workout. Otherwise, just keep your hands behind your thighs. You're activating core, quads, glutes, whole. And then from here, we're gonna lay down. Make sure you tuck your chin towards your chest to prevent any injury around the neck. Lengthen your legs, activate your core. And then slowly release and drop down. Inhale, your exhale, side out. Bend both knees, your feet float off the floor, hands towards your knees. Shift a little bit towards the left, towards the right. And then grab your feet with your hands, lengthening both legs, bending both knees. Rocking to the left or to the right. You want to get that final stretch. Toes and heels, balls of the feet down to your calves. Behind your knees, hamstrings and hips and glutes, lower back, even your mid back as you roll or shift towards the left and the right. Extending both legs, bending one knee, bending both knees. Inhale, exhale. Then release the pose. We're going to shift into our last resting pose of the class, or Shavasana. Very important pose. This is the pose we hold the longest. This is your opportunity to be with your body without having any expectations. If there's anything to be purposeful about in this pose, is really just to relax and to soften. And as I emphasize, that is a skill, to relax and soften our bodies. So as you're laying here, just a few tips. You can invite some intentional deep long breaths if you want to practice that. That is a skill and it's not that easy. It can be very difficult over a long period of time. Or allow your breath to go back to its regular rhythm. No judgment. Allow that breath, that chest to rise and fall naturally. You're not even paying attention too much to it. So you have those options. I'll support you in a body scan, a meditative body scan. Drop your head further towards the floor, perhaps imagining your head melts onto the mat. Release any pressure around the forehead and jaw, the back of your tongue areas we subconsciously tense up. Around the throat, shoulders, down to your hands. Notice that metaphor where we tend to clench our hands frequently throughout the day or grab things or hold on to things. So notice that physical, mental, emotional release by purposely soften our hands, wrists and palms and fingertips. Noticing that energy of letting go and how that shows up physically, mentally, emotionally. Soften down the spine, releasing the upper back, mid back, lower back, down to the area of the lower back around the tailbone. And then your legs release around the hips, behind the knees, down to your ankles and toes. Observe any thoughts and sensations without judgment, just notice. And then start to shift your attention back to your breath, purposely inviting a generous and leisurely inhale and exhale. Restore some awareness and movement around your fingertips and toes. At any point, inhale, exhale, sigh it out. You can invite a full body stretch, lifting your arms up overhead, pointing your toes. Or you have the option of turning your body to one side, allowing it to remain heavy and relaxed. Once again, returning to a generous and leisurely breath. And after you've taken a breath, start to make your way up to your seat. Notice you've been practicing presence and self-awareness throughout the class. Make those little adjustments that may allow you to come into deeper integrity with your body. And then we'll conclude the class honoring our breath, noticing that by honoring our breath, we welcome our experience, whatever it is that we have to learn from it. So we'll take our hands in front of our heart center. We're going to inhale here and exhale, sigh it out. And in the tradition of yoga, the highest in me sees the highest in you. Namaste.